So God was mocked at the Golden Globes, but before the host even said anything about God, she said the acceptance speeches were on fire. Then she proceeds to list the numbers of shout outs. And when she says God, creator of the universe, getting 0. And then, there's like a whole bunch of laughing. And then she says, it's no surprise in this godless town. And later on, she does like a parody song about the Pope. So here's a little clip of it.
So much has already happened in the first half, and the acceptance speeches have been on fire. Who got shouted out the most? Let's look at the numbers. All right, cast and crew are leading the way with 11 mentions. Moms are holding strong with 3 shout-outs. God, creator of the universe, 0 mentions. And Mario Lopez, host of Access Hollywood, 1. All right. No surprise in this godless town.
Then 2 days later, fires break out in LA, and there's numerous videos of celebrities talking about how their houses have burned down and they just lost everything. Like, the fires are still raging after 5 days. This is day 5, I think. So here's a clip of the live footage I got last night, just showing how much like the fires are still going. They're still raging, and it literally looks like hell. So is this a coincidence or is this judgment? In Galatians 6:7, it says, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. And then in 2023, Brazil had the carnival where, they mocked God. And then the very next day, they had the flooding and severe landslides that completely devastated the area. And in Paris, they had the 2024 Olympics, the opening ceremony where they mocked the Lord's Supper. And then, the whole area for about 10 minutes had a power outage where, just a church was lit up on a hill. And I don't know if that was necessarily judgment, because it doesn't seem like much of a judgment just to have, a small area without power for a few minutes. But maybe perhaps it was just a warning, showing the whole city in darkness for a moment, or the whole area in darkness where this happened, and then just illuminating the church, their need for God. Because in Ezekiel 12:20, it says, then the cities that are inhabited shall be laid waste, and the land shall become desolate, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. And then Thomas Jefferson, he was quoted as saying, indeed, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, and that his justice cannot sleep forever. And then Ezekiel 11:12, and you will know that I am the Lord, for you have not followed my decrees or kept my laws, but you have conformed to the standards of the nations around you. Have you guys ever noticed how it's God and Jesus and Christianity that's always mocked? Because people have been taking the name of the Lord in vain for many years with all of their GDs and their JCs. And it's the one true living God. That's the one that, is controversial to those who refuse the truth, those who want to, continue on in their vile and sadistic ways and not be held to any sort of conviction. So I don't know, I guess it wouldn't be any fun for them to mock those false gods, the false gods and all the other religions. That's why we don't hear any mocking of Allah or any of the numerous Hindu gods. There are no cuss words with their names. But, the Bible, it tells us that Satan is the god of this world. And, he's the ultimate deceiver. He hates all of God's people, and he wants nothing more than to steal, kill, and destroy from us, because we were made in God's image, and so the majority of the world, they use God's name in vain, even adding in the F between Jesus's name. And, they think nothing of it, because it's just the way that people talk, right? We're just used to it. It's no big deal to most people. And God does not take mocking lightly, because look in 2 Kings chapter 2, Elisha, who was a man of God, he was being mocked by a group of youths, and he pronounced a curse on them in the name of the Lord, and then 2 female bears came out of the woods and mauled them. So I really think we as a people, we need to humble ourselves, and we need to pray, and we need to seek God's face and turn from our wicked ways. And then God says, his word says, he will hear us, he will answer us, he will forgive us, and he will heal our land. And then in Isaiah 40, chapter 8, the grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God stands forever. So whether or not the fires or flooding, landslides, power outages, tornadoes, earthquakes, whatever the event may be, whether that's actually God's judgment or not, we don't know unless the Lord confirms it, unless we hear from him ourselves and he confirms it. But we do know from his word that God will not be mocked, and his word will not be mocked. So these may not be judgments, but they're definitely something to pay attention to. They don't seem like they're just coincidences. And maybe it's just a wake-up call, like I said, to get the people's attention that, hey, what you've been doing, what you've been saying about our God, it's not right. And you're not going to get away with it for long, because he is a God of justice. And, we'd be wise to pay attention to the things that happen, and then, the things that lead up to those, and use some understanding here. But no matter what, God is just. He is all-knowing and he is all-powerful. And of course, to those who don't know who he is, those who don't know him and his word, and are not open to his truth, the truth of the word, it can seem cruel. It can definitely seem cruel from that perspective, because they lack the understanding that God is worthy of all of our honor and all of our glory. And we as a people, we have no power against God's will. He is sovereign. And, as anyone who creates something, they, as the creator, they have all rights to do with their creation as they please, as they choose. So who are we to say to God, to anything, So in Hebrews 12:29, it says, "For our God is a consuming fire." And what we do know is that people have been showing and telling God by the way that they live their lives that they don't need him or want him. And, when you have an understanding of the spiritual realm, that there are spiritual laws and principles. In Hollywood, with its darkness, its depravity, it's just disgusting things that come out of it. They have rejected the God who could have intervened and changed this around for them. And so they are in the hands of the God that they serve, the God of this world, Satan. God is actually a very loving God. Think about it, the God of the universe. He invites us and longs for us, all of his creation, to know him, to fellowship with him, to call upon him, to truly know who he is and to appreciate him for who he is and not just what he can do for us. But he is also a God of justice and holiness, and he demands righteousness. He deserves righteousness. And, he created us to love him and to love others. But, love is not actually love if it is forced. And so that's why God allows us free will. So, what do we do with all of this? What can we truly do? It's not just to become aware and just say, oh my gosh, did you see what happened? Did you see what God did, or how these people are being so evil and vile? What we can do is to truly pray for them, because pray for them like Jesus did, where he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. God, have mercy on them. And that's what separates us from the rest of the world. The rest of the world would say, no mercy, don't forgive them. They need to get what they deserve. But that's for God to decide. Our part, when we come into the knowledge of the truth and what it is that God would have us to do, to be in his will, is to pray for others, to love them, and to show them the way, that no one is too far gone. And it's hard for us in our human understanding to think that anyone deserves a second chance or forgiveness, but that's not the God way. The God way is he wishes that all should come to repentance and none of us should perish. So I hope this has been helpful, encouraging, insightful. Just stay close to God. Pray for those who persecute you and do wrong. Jesus bless you guys. Bye.